So what I have here is an Xbox 360 Trinity, and this is one of two sisters that I own that I would have bought at the same time back when they were new at retail. And I took these both out of the box and installed the RGH hack of its time, and that's a previous variation of it. I can't remember what it was, but I believe it's the Coolrunners that I have in there right here from Xecuter. I have a couple of those left over, even still around here. So I believe this one was the first one that I'd done, and I was never quite happy with the way the timings were on it, and it took a little bit to boot, but it did boot each time nonetheless. And the second one, I was able to refine it a little bit better, and that one was much more dependable and became kind of the primary Xbox around here during the time. And then this one here kind of has been shuffling around in storage in my basement for the better part of 10 years, and I brought it out the other day to kind of update it and test it, and I actually want to do the RGH 3 upgrade for it, and wasn't able to get this one to boot. It never really booted all that reliably. Well, it booted reliably, but it always took a bit of time before, so I knew I wanted to find the one that wasn't so reliable as the other to test or perform the first RGH 3 upgrade on it. And then when I was testing this one, I couldn't quite get it to boot. I didn't spend a lot of time with it, and I could see by peering through the grill on the sides that the Xecuter chip was pulsing and trying to perform the exploit, but it wasn't quite latching, and I couldn't even use the eject to boot to Zell, because my original plan was to just boot into Zell and flash the RGH 3 NAND onto the system, change my wiring, and be off to the races. Everything should have worked if I had just done that. But since now it won't even boot to begin with, I am unable to flash the NAND, so I have an NAND X here from Xecuter from back then too, and I'm gonna have to, what I want to do actually is to restore the original NAND on here, which I believe was the NAND that came right out of the box and was probably dumped before it was ever even used for anything else. And I'm gonna restore the original NAND back onto this system and verify that the system still works itself, because right now I don't know that it's the mod or the system itself that's not even working. So by restoring the original NAND, I'm going to test it, see if it still works, and then from there, well, first I'm going to remove the entire mod that's in here right now, then flash that NAND, try to boot it up in its original stock form, verify everything works, and then I'm going to do the RGH 3 install on this, and that should hopefully be its final form. I know all the hype right now is around bad update, and that's a cool hack too, and it just got much better here recently, so it's pretty reliable on its own, but the RGH 3 and the JTAG is still kind of the end game for the Xbox. And I've got several JTAGs around here. Those are probably the most desirable, but unfortunately they're relegated to aging hardware. To the fat models with an older dashboard were the only ones that were able to be JTAGed. And with the oncoming of RGH, we were able to do it on the slim models all the way up into the Winchester, which now the bad update can take care of that one. But the Trinity, which was kind of the sweet spot of it all, works well with RGH 3, and that's still kind of the best exploit going right now, so that's what I want to get into this. I got a surface mounted 3K ohm resistor that I want to install, and I'm going to do a nice, hopefully it will be a nice clean install on the system, and do the upgrade to RGH 3. But first I need to break it down, flash back the original NAND, verify everything works, remove the old mod, and start from scratch. So first thing I'm going to need to do here now is disassemble this system, inspect to see what could have gone wrong and what might be causing it not to boot. Who knows, this thing has been bouncing around, like I said, in my basement for a while. Who's to say something maybe didn't come dislodged inside. So I'm going to first do an inspection to see if there's anything visible that I can see of why it's not booting, and then remove the mod. It wouldn't boot in that form either because of the modified NAND that's on here, so I will need to restore the NAND to get it to boot again. So that whole process will be, I'm going to be using these prefabricated leads that I've got here for the NAND X. I believe it was Weekend Modder I first seen that trick used with, and it makes this really easy to reuse and stuff, so I should be able to just solder back on there, flash back the original NAND. I still have all those files. I checked the date on them. They were from 2011 that I dumped the NAND off here. I still have those files. So I'm going to bring this thing back 14 years, all the way back to 2011 when it probably came fresh right out of the box, and install the original NAND back on here and try to get it working in its stock form before it gets its RGH 3 upgrade. So stick around. I'll probably do this in two videos. One be just breaking this down, figuring out what's wrong with it and getting it to boot to begin with, and then I'll probably start another video there of showing my RGH 3 install and how that turns out for me. around here, because it's something I've been wanting to do for a while now, and I finally got the time to be able to sit down and perform this project. So stick around if you guys are interested in seeing how this all turns out. So first thing I need to do is get this thing taken apart. So some of this comes apart rather easily, some of it is kind of a pain in the butt. So it's these two end pieces that are the trickiest, and you kind of got to just get in there and work everything out. Okay, that side's finally off. We can move over to the other side now. It's kind of the same process. The X-clamp removal tool works good for getting in there and leveraging that out. Same thing on this side. That side comes out quite a bit easier. Remove the Wi-Fi board. Okay, with both sides off now, I think we can remove this bottom section. We need to release some clips. Just the clips on that side. This side's a little trickier. Okay, so for this side here, you want to release that first clip. And then there's going to be a second clip. That'll be just behind this little hole here that I've made. You can see that if you pop that little hole there, you can release that clip much easier than any other way that I know of. Release the bottom cover. Okay, with the faceplate off, you want to be very careful. There's this fragile ribbon cable that's right here. You want to just release that. And it's got a little bit of a catch that goes over top. So kind of keep that away. And just disconnect it gently, like that. And then finally, we're inside of this thing. So once inside, it's a lot easier. Now that we're done with all the plastic clips and everything, this thing comes apart so much easier. There's a couple screws here for the hard drive caddy, one inside there, and there's one here on the back that holds it. DVD drive, that comes right out. That comes out of there, and you can see I have Coolrunner installed right here. And take a look at that work. See if I can't see where my problem might have been. Looks like I got a quick solder board here on my NAND, so I might be able to just dump from that without having to wire all these leads in. I should be able to just plug right into these ports that are on there. Okay, we're going to just continue breaking this down. We're going to get the motherboard out of here. Remove all these screws from the bottom side. Remove this little module on the front by removing these two screws. We'll be removing the X-clamp and applying new thermal paste while we're in here. Okay, now with the motherboard out, you can actually get in here and have a look to see what might be going on. You can see the length of wire that was used here. That was kind of how he adjusted the timing back when this hack exploit was released. I'll have to get that X-clamp out to inspect those connections. It's possible maybe something became dislodged on this over time. I'm going to get this under the microscope and we'll have a look at it. All these connections on the top side look to be fine. This was a working system at one time, so it might not even be this. It might be the HDMI connector, or who knows what could have failed on this over time. But that's why I want to kind of get the original NAND back on here. Remove this old mod. So this X-clamp tool works great for removing these. I know it's possible without it, but I'm telling you, it's a million times easier with it. Okay, everything still seems to be connected and solid at all the ends, which I was kind of hoping just to see a wire popped off or something, because then it's obvious. I'm going to take a closer look. I never had a microscope or anything back in the day when I was doing these. Maybe this heat sink out of here. Come in now with the microscope, get a better look at some of this. Okay, so the first thing I see when I turn this board upside down and I get underneath the microscope is these connections aren't looking good. These were done like 15 years ago or whatever, and I think I may have used even the wrong kind of flux, and either way I probably didn't go in there and clean that up well enough. And you can see that there's even some rust and corrosion here that's happening now, so the first thing I need to do is get those wires removed and get this cleaned up, and hopefully none of this damage is irreversible. So I'm just going to come in here with my soldering iron. I'm going to clean this up with fresh solder and isopropyl alcohol and flux. Okay, I think that spot's going to be okay. I believe I need to reuse that spot. So I'm going to come in with flux and some fresh solder and just kind of get it dressed. This may be unnecessary if this board doesn't boot again, but I just want to freshen up that point. Refresh those other points too while I'm at it. That's looking like it's going to be a whole lot better. Now it's this other connection that I'm definitely more concerned about. So let's get in there, get it removed and cleaned up. Oh, I just want to clean that area up first before I get too aggressive with the soldering iron. Not sure what this black stuff is that's underneath these pads. It came off in a couple spots. You can see it's coming off on my Q-tip, so I want to get that cleaned out. Thankfully it looks like the spot that I soldered to, all that rust and corrosion that was there, seems to have cleaned up. Trying to get this black stuff now that's over these few pads cleaned off. I think I may have been using the wrong kind of flux back in the day. I'm not sure if that's what this is, but I believe that's probably what led to that corrosion that we've seen. So either way, I'm not seeing this black stuff elsewhere before, and it is cleaning off, so it's mostly cleaned up. It's a lot better than it was. It's not bridging any of those connections like it was before, so I'm not sure if it was conductive or not, but and thankfully we can get down to the copper underneath of it, as we can see here now that is mostly removed, and the copper itself seems to be okay, so I don't think we've damaged any traces or anything, whatever that was. And it looks like that area came clean, and I don't see any damage to any of the traces or components. All that rust and corrosion seems to have been removed. I'm going to get all these wires off. I'm going to give this whole board a good clean. I'll get the other side of the board looked at here. I think I'm going to get this quick solder board taken out of there. As you can see, it looks kind of corroded down below that too, and while that's nice to be able to just hook up to and be able to program and stuff, I'd rather just do that manually and have this out of there now and cleaned up. Come in there with some flux. Hopefully I can get this to come out of there okay. We'll see how well this works. This is going to be tricky. Never had to remove a quick solder board before. They're not generally designed to be removed. They're in there and connected. It's several spots. It only takes a little bit of solder. Okay, so I just broke free. Hopefully everything underneath there is still okay. We'll get in there and clean that up now. I think that definitely needed to be removed. I'm gonna come in there and clean up the rest of, remove that rest of that old solder. Okay. I'm going to apply some fresh solder, come in and clean that up a bit more, and I'm going to flux it and put some good solder down. It's going to make all those points just look new. It's unnecessary, except for the points that I need, but I just kind of want to get some flux on that, and then just come in with fresh solder just to basically remove whatever old solder is there from before. Just touch up each of those points. Okay, now I know all those connections are kind of good and have fresh solder in them. I'm going to continue removing the rest of this mod. I'm not sure how it's stuck down. I think it's just probably double-sided tape. There is a ground over here. I guess I could just remove it from the chip for now. And I'm hoping I can pry up on that board and remove it without damaging anything. Okay. That came out without much problem. Left a little bit of residue behind there. I should be able to clean that up. Doesn't look like it's causing any harm. Okay, so I'm just going to continue cleaning this all up. The only thing left here now is this wire that's attached up here on the connector there. That's just where that ground wire went. I can go ahead and remove that. And so now we have the entire mod, quick solder board, everything that was in there from before removed. I'm going to continue getting this board cleaned up, and then I'll be back and we'll get the NAND connected and hopefully flash the original NAND back onto this. So I'll be back with that. Let me get some cleaning done here. Okay, with the board all cleaned up and all that adhesive and everything removed, I couldn't see any damages. So now I'm going to install my cable to be able to reprogram the original NAND. So I'll get my solder in there and heat it up and first apply flux. Okay, so these are just temporary connections, but I just need to connect to these points. And now I should be able to write the original NAND back onto this Xbox, so we'll be back with that. Okay, now I have the NAND X programmer connected through USB to my computer, and then I have the power supply just temporarily connected to the motherboard. That is it, just the motherboard, power supply, and NAND X connector. I have NAND X now running with the driver installed. It's detecting the NAND X. So what I want to do is load my original NAND dump that I took back in 2011, November of 2011. And as you can see, it has a bad block detected there, and I thought I seen that before in block 29. I believe it's the first 50 blocks are for the Zell to boot. And I'm not sure if this is part of my problem, but having a bad block in those first 29 blocks is definitely not ideal. But what I'm going to try to do here now is just write this NAND back to the Xbox, and as you can see, it looks to be working. So right now it's programming back the original NAND that this thing probably came out of the box with, and I'm going to install that back onto the board with all the Coolrunner and the previous RGH wiring removed. Hopefully this will boot up as a stock Xbox. I'll just get everything kind of temporarily put back together. I'm just going to put that heatsink on. I'm not going to do the thermal paste and all that yet because I'll have to remove that again for wiring, but just to test it I want to see that it's going to boot in its stock form. I'll probably speed up this footage here so that we don't all have to watch this in real time. But you'll even see there in the config that there was a problem writing to block 29. Hopefully that's not a problem booting. So we've had a successful write. So I'm going to get things kind of broken down here a bit. I'm going to get it back in its tray and some things just temporarily connected, and we'll test this to see that it actually still works as an Xbox. So let me get this all disconnected and we'll be right back with that. Okay, so this is the moment of truth. I've got an HDMI cable here running over to the Retro Tank 4K, and I'm going to apply power and I'm going to boot this up. Let's hope that something happens here. So it appears to be turning on at least, and it's booting. So I think we were able to just at least restore this thing back to stock. So we weren't able to even boot this at all before. So yeah, there we go. It works. It turns on, it boots. So now I'm gonna go ahead and try to get the RGH3 mod installed on this. So that's a good sign. We were able to fix this. Who's to say exactly what the problem was, but disconnecting and removing all the existing hardware and wiring and cleaning up the corrosion that we found and then restoring the original NAND, we were able to boot this back to a very old dashboard, I'm assuming. This was a good test and a good fix. It's actually working now, whereas before it wasn't, so at least it's a stock Xbox right now. Let's go ahead and get the RGH3 hack installed. So join me in the next video. That'll be part 2 of this. Hopefully there's no part 3 and part 2 goes smooth. Join me in the next video for that if you guys want to stick around and see what happens to this Xbox. So at least now it's working. When we started it wasn't, so at least we got a working Xbox now. And now we're going to go ahead and upgrade it into probably what is the final frontier for the Xbox 360. I know the bad update's a really cool thing that's happening right now, but that's not a persistent exploit. It is tethered, so you need to run that each time, which is not a big deal anymore now that they've sped it up, but having a persistent hardware modified Xbox is still the most ideal and optimal way to run your Xbox 360. So I'm going to go ahead and get that installed, and join me in the next video if you guys want to check it out and see what happens. Hope to see you then. Bye.